Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how we can create a news app in SwiftUI. Okay, for that I'm going to use this free API called News API. You can search it in Google, otherwise go to newsapi.org. Okay, also I will include this link in the video description, so you can directly go to the documentation page that gives you instruction to access top headlines of some country. Here US, and there are other countries that you can use, CA, CH, CN and so on. Okay, I am going to copy this URL and show you that here you will see like this. And the thing is, when you got your API key, once you sign into their website, you have to replace that API key with this API key. I will directly include this URL in the video description, then you can replace your API key with this. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to create the Xcode project and select multi-platform because we are going to use SwiftUI, and go next. I'm going to say news app as the app name and click next and create it. Okay, now I'm going to see my JSON here. Here we have articles. Inside the articles we have each news like this. Each news will have title, description, URL, URL to image. Let's check that out. Here a image and the date, publish at, and the content. Okay, I'm going to create a new group in my project called models. Yeah, we can say model, and in that let's create a Swift file called network manager. And I am going to create a new file. Select Swift file and go next. I am going to name this as news. Okay, in the news I am going to create a struct that will have information about these fields. Firstly, we have articles. In the articles we will have each news, so then we can say struct news. Here in the braces I am going to say let articles, here this one, and this will be a array of news item. So what I can do is create a new struct and name that as news item. Okay, one thing to do is we have to conform each struct to codable or decodable protocol, because that is needed when we are working with network sessions. Okay, now in the articles I am going to define it is type as news item. So articles will have an array of news item. Okay, now here we can get title. Let title will be a string, and also let description, this thing, it will be a string, and the URL is not needed. We need the URL to image. Let URL to image will be a string, and the date I am going to say let publish at will be a date. Here actually it is a string. We can take the date from that string. For now we can go for a string, and the content here, the news content is limited to few letters. There could be a reason, but since we are doing this application to learning purpose, we don't need to show complete news. We can say let content, and it will be a string also. Alright, that is it. And I am going to open the network manager. Here let's go ahead and create the class. Network manager is the class name. In that I am going to create the function called fetch data. Okay. Now in the braces I am going to create the URL for this API. We can say if let URL is equals to URL, and the string will have this URL. You have to replace this API key with your one, and we can paste that here in the string. Okay, and at braces after the parentheses. Now we can create the session. Inside it is equals to URL session, and we have to set the configuration to default. Okay, a default session configuration object will be passed in. And the next thing is create the tags, networks tags, and I can say set that equals to session dot data tags, and I am going to do it with this URL. You can say URL. Now we have to create the trailing closure. I mean is this one. When we go to data tags, here again a completion handler will be suggested. Since it is the last argument, when we press on that, the trailing closure will be created like this. Here the argument will be URL for the width, and the data and the response and the error should be added here. Okay. Now I am going to check the error is nil, then we can continue the decoding part. For that we need the decoder. We can say decoder is equals to JSON decoder and parentheses. Okay, and I am going to say if let save data, because we have to check whether data is existing or not. That's why I am using this one. What I am doing here is optional unwrapping. Okay, set that equals to data, and if that works, in the braces I can add a do statement. In the do, I am going to create a new constant called results and set that equals to, and we can add the try statement. Now try, using the decoder I am going to decode the data. The type will be the news we created here. Okay, so we can say it is news dot self, and the from save data. Okay, if this throws an error, we can identify that using catch statement, and we can print the error. Okay, now that part is success. Now I want to try this out by printing the result. We can say print results. Okay, and we'll go to the content view. Now after each view item there is a one called on appear, and select this perform. So you can do some tasks there. For example, we can call for print statement or do whatever you need. In our case I am going to create the let and say network manager as new network manager. Okay, in this on appear, in this perform closer, I am going to call for network manager dot fetch data. Before we are going to run the application, let's go to the network manager again, and here I forget to continue this tasks. You will see this is unused. That's because after the code we have to say tasks dot resume, so it will resume the tasks. Then when we run this application, you will see that will show an error. The reason is here in the API, when you check these carefully, these fields on some news items, these are null. So in order to give a solution, go to the model, which is this struct news item, and for URL to image we can specify it could be a optional one, and also the content will be optional. Okay, let's go ahead and run the application now. Also here this is showing an error because description should be optional also, because there may be some fields that not having an description. Okay, alright, here we got the output. Then what I will do, just remove this print statement. Also in the content view I am going to remove this network manager instance and remove this. Okay, and remove this one and remove the v stack. Instead what I have to do, just add a list to our view. For that, firstly we are going to add the view called navigation view. So this allows us to navigate through views. For example, when we click on a news item in the list, we have to open that link in a new view. That's why we are using this navigation view. If you are not using this, you will not able to navigate through list items. Okay, now the navigation link, the destination should be provided. Currently we don't have a destination. I'm going to create a one in the news app. I'm going to create the new file and choose SwiftUI view. I'm going to say news detail and create it. In the content view, I'm going to provide the destination as news detail. Okay, now the content, I'm going to double click on it and add a list. Okay, we'll go for second one. Okay, third one is fine also. Here we have to create the trailing closer, so this is the second argument, then it will be like this. Now the data, we are getting that from the network manager. What I will do, go to the network manager and we have to conform this network manager with the protocol called observable object. Now we need to store these results in a variable. So in the top I can say var news, it will be a array of news that we created here, news item. We can say it will be a news item, not news item. Okay, and finally parenthesis. Now we have to notify changes. For that we can mark this variable with the property wrapper called publish. It is a type alias for the Combise framework type that publishes a property marked with an attribute. Okay, now after the results, here we can say self dot news is equals to results dot articles. Here in the news struct we have articles array. Okay, Now in the content view, what I will do, add the property wrapper called observed object. So it is a property wrapper type that subscribes to an observable object and invalidates a view whenever the observable object changes. Okay, and I can say var the name for that as network manager and setting that equals to a new network manager. Okay. Now in the list I am going to pass in network manager dot news. Okay, and the next step we have to pass in news here. We will receive each news item in this array to here. Now we can create the cell for that. We can say a text or something. Now I am going to show the title, news dot title. Okay, let's go ahead and run the application. Before that, here this shows an error. The reason is SwiftUI needed a unique ID for organize each element in the list. Currently we don't have any ID coming from the API. Here if you check, no ID are available for each news item. So what I will do, go to the struct called news item. I am going to conform that to identifiable. Here before going to add that, it shows a class of types whose instances hold the value of an entity with stable identity. Okay, now I am going to create a new variable called ID. Since we don't have ID coming from the API for all news items, we are going to use a auto generated ID. We can say var ID is equals to UUID. Okay, now in the content view, now there is another error that I had to fix by adding parentheses after the news detail. Okay, one thing to note, as I did earlier, we have to go for on appear. So this will add an action to perform before this view appears. So let's add the action. In this I can say network manager dot fetch data. Let's run the application now. Okay, so let's see, we got an error which is no value associated with the ID. Okay, to fix this error we can go ahead and make a computed property for this ID. I am going to specify the ID type as UUID. Okay, and add braces. In the braces I am going to return UUID. Okay, let's run and see. Okay, now we are seeing each news in the list. Now we need to show news detail in this news detail view. What we have to do in the news detail, I am going to create a new constant called news item and specify its type as news item. Okay, here in the news file we have news item. Alright, now in the content view we have to provide the news item. Guys, I think I have done some mistake, which is adding navigation link before the list. The navigation link should be added to each list item but not for list. So I am going to cut that and paste that in the list. Okay, so then we can access this news item. Okay, let's go ahead and run this out. Yeah, for the preview purpose we need to pass in some default news item, but I don't want to preview now. I'm going to comment that out. Before running the application, here we have some warning. Let's go to the network manager. Yeah, it shows publishing changes from background threads is not allowed. The reason is here we are assigning results.articles to news. So what I can do at this path queue dot main dot async, in the braces we can have this self dot news is equals to results dot articles. Okay, let's run the app now. Alright, okay, now in the news detail I can show the title of the news using text. I can say news item dot title, and also we need to show the description, and I'm going to go for next one, the publish at, but I'm going to say double quotes and type publish at, and we can say backslash and parentheses and providing news item dot publish at. Here this showing an error, so we can provide the default value. We can say question mark and here double quotes. Inside that we can say no description found. Also we can go for the next one. We can say news item dot, we may have content, and it can be empty also, so we can say question symbol and then double quotes. We can also say no content found. Alright, so let's see what we have. We need to show the image, so for that we can use async image. In SwiftUI you don't have to manually write a code to fetch an image from a URL and do some tasks and show that. Instead you can use async image and select this URL content and placeholder one, so it loads and displays a modifiable image from the specified URL using a custom placeholder until the image loads. Okay, select it, and we have to create a URL. We can create it at top. We can say let URL is equals to URL string is this news item dot URL to image, and it could be empty, so I'm going to provide the default URL. Here in the async image we can provide that URL. Now double click on this closer and provide the image. Here you can provide the placeholder, could be a text that mention something like loading the image. Now to show the image, all we have to do just call for this image here. We can run the app and see. Actually you can customize this news detail view. Since the video took some time, I don't want to show you how to customize this view to appear awesome. Let's click on this one. Yeah, the image is too large, so we have to customize that. We can say image resizable and aspect ratio to, let's say, fit, and let's run again. Okay, alright, that is it for this video. I hope you learned something from this video. If so, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.